All right, so money, Pennsylvania's money. Let's take a little poll right now, all right? Clap if this is what you expect. Budget transparency. Affordable, maybe not free, affordable education. Cutting waste. All things our state treasurer stands for and works hard to present Pennsylvania's. Proudly to introduce our next guest, retired U.S. Army Reserve Colonel and the 78th Treasurer of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Stacy Garrity.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Pennsylvania State Treasurer Stacy Garrity, and it's always a great occasion when I can visit the Pennsylvania Leadership Conference and talk to some fellow conservatives. But let me first start off by saying I want to congratulate Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. He seems to have reduced crime in New York City to the point that the biggest thing he has left to prosecute is someone saying someone else paid off an adult film star. So it's so good to know there are no more murders, no more armed robberies, no more muggings in Manhattan. I'd send him a letter of congratulations, but we can't be sure he'd get it, because it turns out someone held up the Manhattan post office last year. True story. So it's painful to think that the French must be laughing at us. But it's far more troubling to know that the Russians are laughing at us for an entirely different reason. And let me explain. So in my Army career, I spent quite a bit of time in Iraq. I commanded an internment facility for enemy combatants. And the idea was to keep the bad guys locked up so the good guys could stay safe. It's the very basis for national security. And we need to start thinking about that right here at home. And in the context of our elections. And here's why. You need to think of Russia as a burglar. They're walking down a corridor. They'll try every door until they find one that's open. And in a way, that's what happened over the Black Sea recently when a Russian pilot attacked an American drone over international waters. Now, the Biden administration, they've called it reckless, dangerous behavior, and painted the Russian pilot as some sort of cowboy off doing his own thing. Now, I'm former military, and trust me, pilots don't shoot things down they're not told to. And guess what? He got a medal for it. In 1983, a Russian pilot shot down a passenger plane over international waters. 269 people died, including a member of Congress. Does anyone think the Russians aren't testing us? Does anyone think they'll stop shooting things down? Does anyone think that Russian leaders, all the way up to Vladimir Putin, didn't get exactly what they wanted when this pilot knocked our drone out of the air? It's time to wake up. The response to an atrocity is to call them out forcefully. You don't reason with tyrants. So once again, Joe Biden is showing a soft hand when a fist is needed. Now, it's one thing to spend $400,000, a $400,000 missile, shooting down, what was it, a $4 balloon over North America. That's one thing. But it's a whole nother thing to let the Russians knock down one of our aircraft over international waters. Now, I'm not going to say exactly what the response should be, but it definitely shouldn't be what Biden has been doing. The Russians are always testing our limits and pushing the boundaries when we give them the wrong response. Silence and equivocation, they are the wrong answers. And we're not only being tested abroad, we're also being tested right here at home. So you all know the Silicon Valley Bank was recently bailed out by the Biden administration. And I won't go into the technical details of why SVB collapsed. All you need to know is that they were focused on diversifying their workforce instead of diversifying their portfolio. Now, let me preface this by saying that my office, we've spoke to all of our financial partners, and I'm happy to tell you, Pennsylvania's tax dollars are safe. But that's right. But bank collapses like we just saw with SVB and the other ones, and we may witness some more in the future, they're avoidable. Sure, the economy's in rough shape. We all know we have the Biden administration to praise for that. But now there's another dangerous trend happening in this country, and it's known as ESG, environmental, social, governance. ESG, in a nutshell, is a way for leftists to try and undermine everything that makes our country great, and not by passing laws through normal process, but by trying to strangle our nation's most abundant resources by pushing a social agenda. So early on in his administration, President Biden and John Kerry, they tried to pressure banks by telling them you can't lend money to fossil fuel companies. So put another way, the Biden administration, they tried to usurp Congress, the courts, the state law, and instead opted to use financial regulation to try and put millions of people out of work. Right here in Pennsylvania, the oil and gas industries account for hundreds of thousands of life-sustaining jobs. And this kind of behavior is very unacceptable. So I did send a letter to Joe Biden and John Kerry warning them to stop pressuring banks to stop lending to our fossil fuel companies. And since then, I'm very happy to tell you, several of our large financial institutions right here in Pennsylvania have come out and said they'll continue to lend to fossil fuel companies. And not because they're pro-energy, not because they're anti-energy, but because they're good investments. And that's how finance, especially public finance, is supposed to work. We're not supposed to pick winners and losers. We're just supposed to call balls and strikes. So, thank you. Thank you. So my office, we're going to continue to keep an eye on ESG, and we'll continue to stand for prudent investing as long as I am your treasurer. So I have to tell you, I can't wait for 2024, but first, we have to get through 2023. This is the year we elect the people who will make sure that the 2024 election is run with integrity. We'll choose judges who stop the judicial gerrymandering so that Democrats don't choose our voters. We'll elect county executives, county commissioners, and the local officials that make sure everything is on the up and up. We have to get this right. And the arc of political life in America starts here on the local level. We need to win these races. This primary will bring us Republican nominees for state courts, for our county courts, for offices, all the way up and down the line. And these are positions that affect your everyday lives, more so than anyone in Washington can. And they'll also help us set the tone for national elections. Now, we don't know for sure who all our Republican nominees will be. So that's up to the voters when they go to the polls. But it's a sure bet that whoever we nominate will be far better than the followers of the woke Biden regime. Winning means we have to adapt to things as they are, not always as we'd like them to be. And that means Republicans have to embrace mail-in voting. Elections are a marathon, and we have to stop giving the other side a 10-mile head start. We need to reach Republicans, and there are thousands of them, all four corners of the state, that might not vote in an off-year election. And we need to make our case for conservatism without apology or equivocation. So let me put it this way. We're right, they're wrong. We believe that when someone commits a crime, you call the police. They think you should call a social worker. We know that families know best when it comes to raising their children. The left thinks they know best. We think taxes are the last resort. The left hasn't seen a tax they wouldn't like to pass, then raise, then hand it over to their special interest allies. Republicans are the party of equal opportunity. The Democrats are the party of shared misery. Now, we're coming up on the 20th anniversary of our Operation Iraqi Freedom, and I was very proud to serve in the Gulf War. I kept Iraqi prisoners off the battlefields, and let me promise you, more than one of them wanted to come to America and live in freedom. Even America's enemies are smarter than the left. And that's why we need to fire them. And that starts by putting our party members in state and local offices this year so that we can take back the White House, hold on to Congress, regain the Pennsylvania House, and finally bring the conservative agenda back to an America that's in peril. The Pennsylvania Leadership Conference can be the place where we get the ball rolling. And all I can say is let's get to work. Thank you so much. God bless all of you. God bless Pennsylvania, and God bless the United States. Thank you.